Hi, Councilman. And just as an FYI, depending on how the night goes, we can only accommodate 82 people in the chambers due to the COVID situation. So you might be asked, once you speak your testimony, to leave the chambers so others can come in if it gets to that point. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight on November 3rd, Wednesday night, November 3rd, for this public ordinance hearing. My name is Councilman Nicholas Narducci. Madam Chair, would you please take the roll?
Chairman Narducci.
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Castillo is absent. Councilwoman Harris.
Present.
Councilor Miller. Councilman Espinal.
Present.
You have 4 present and 1 absent. You do have a quorum.
Before we even start, excuse me one second. Before we even start, what I am going to ask is you try to hold your testimony to 2 minutes. I will keep keeping track of time up here. If you hear somebody make a testimony on which you were going to do the same, maybe refrain from either making a testimony or make it that much quicker if you can. Thank you. At this time, can I have a motion to continue item number 1, please?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilwoman Miller,
Second.
seconded by Pro Temp Espinal. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, will you please read item number 2 into the minutes?
Item number 2 is an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 27 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Providence entitled The City of Providence Zoning Ordinance, approved November 24th, 2014, as amended to change certain text in Article 12. This amendment would prohibit bulk storage of liquid propane gas in all zones.
And what I am going to do, excuse me, I'm going to apologize ahead of time if I do butcher anybody's name. But first of all, Bobby Azar, would you like to speak on item number 2, please?
And Mr. Chair, we do have a letter from the CPC and some testimony that was received. If we could enter that into the record
Yes.
as Exhibit 2A.
Motion made to enter letter for exhibit 2A
Second, Mr. President.
by, seconded by Councilwoman Harris, motion made by Councilwoman Harris, seconded by Councilwoman Miller. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Hey, Bobby.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Robert Azar, Deputy Director of the Department of Planning and Development. This particular ordinance would amend Article 1200 to prohibit the bulk storage of liquid propane gas in all zones. There's a list in Article 12 that lays out all of the uses that are prohibited throughout the city, and this ordinance would add liquid propane gas to that list. The City Plan Commission considered this at its most recent meeting and issued a letter that you have. Just briefly summarizing this, the City Plan Commission felt that prohibiting the bulk storage of liquid propane outright would not be appropriate, but that it would be appropriate to regulate this kind of storage more strictly than it is currently regulated. So their recommendation to you is that the use be subject to a special use permit. And a special use permit is a process whereby an applicant would have to appear in front of the zoning board. And there are general special use permit criteria relating to compatibility with the neighborhood and not devaluing neighboring property. The commission recommended that there be other criteria that could be imposed, including those related to fire safety or leak protection, air pollution, transportation pollution, and the ability to adapt the infrastructure to other fuels.
Thank you, Bob. All right. We're going to Tina. All right, is Mr. Alfred Jeffries here? Can you step up to the table? Present your name and your address for the record, please. State your name and your address for the record, and please use the mic in front of you.
My name is Alfred Jeffries. I live on Potter Drive in Providence. I live in a small neighborhood, South Elmwood, which is just on the west side of Roger Williams Park. I'm going to speak in favor of this ordinance that would prohibit any further liquid propane storage in the Port of Providence. I believe this is related to the C3 propane company proposal to build extra storage bullets in the Port of Providence. 5 90,000 gallon liquid propane tanks. But the real deeper issue is the supplying of those propane tanks by tank cars over the railroads. In South Elmwood, especially in the northern section of the neighborhood, the property and homes, the property lines, people that live in the neighborhood directly abut the rail lines that be carrying the propane gas. This is especially the west side of Alger Avenue would be severely affected by the train cars going by. It would take 12 to 13 tank cars to fill the propane bullets where it would be stored. The heating season is 20 weeks long. How many resupply trains would be coming up those railroad tracks, passing directly behind the residents on the west side of Alger Avenue? A train derailment would be very serious. If one of those cars ever caught on fire, it'd be a catastrophe. It would wipe out our neighborhood, and it would be several orders of magnitude worse than the Station nightclub fire. So not only that is the primary reason for me supporting this ordinance, is those liquefied propane tank cars will be going by our neighborhood for many weeks in the winter, endangering the neighborhood residents severely. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Perry.
Thank you. My name is Linda Perry, and I'm the chair of the Washington Park Association. I live in the frontline area of the Port of Providence. We see a lot of activity. We've seen a lot of additional activity recently. The last thing we need is additional propane tankers coming through the port, servicing the port through rail and truck. I would like to thank the councilman for putting in through this ordinance, because it is very important that something happen right now at this point in this body to protect the citizens of the city, the people that live in the district and beyond. You just heard Al in Elmwood, and you'll hear other people in Elmwood. The trains that'll be coming through across Allen's Avenue, and you know Allen's Avenue is a hot spot for accidents. There was a derailment. There's a lot of accidents there, and people drive like crazy. And as you probably don't know, I know because I live there. So in summary, I would like this not to happen, the C3 expansion, and this is the first step to making that happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. Is it Susanna Holloway? And again, if you would please state your name and your address for the record.
Well, my name is Susan.
Would you also mind dropping your mask so while you speak? Thank you.
Okay. My name is Susanna Holloway. I live at 64 Fales Avenue in Barrington, Rhode Island, 02806. I would ask you to please vote in favor of agenda item number 2 and agenda item number 7. Please, for agenda item number 2, please vote to prevent the further expansion of storage of liquefied propane gas at the neighborhood which encompasses the port in Providence. Please vote in favor of limiting more LPG storage. Storage is actually a misnomer. The storage of this dirty fossil fuel is a very active process, which entails potentially a 24-hour-a-day process of offloading a very flammable substance into tanks and trucks, and the trucks are dirty, idling diesel engines. We know all of this information from what C3 has already presented to the Energy Facility Siting Board. I am a resident of Barrington, but we all breathe the same air. And with a predominantly west wind, Barrington directly breathes the air of the Port of Providence, and we should not be subjected to more dirty air. The childhood asthma rates are too high already in this neighborhood of Providence. There is a hospital right here, as well as a densely settled residential neighborhood. They should not be breathing more dirty air either. LPG is flammable, and with every train that's rumbling through this residential neighborhood, and with every offload and onload from tank to tank and back to truck, there is a great risk of fire and explosion. And with the fact that it is trucked out of the port area, this LPG would be put on tractor trailer trucks and trucked out of the area. The tractor trailer trucks, while they are being loaded, are idling. And C3 has already shown us that with an expanded storage area, they will be able to have a continuous 24-hour process of loading trucks which are idling and then chugging up the highway ramp, emitting a huge amounts of noxious gas into the air. This means that the LPG storage in and of itself creates huge amounts of risk and huge amounts of dirty gas in our Rhode Island air. The LPG is then itself burned, creating more noxious air all over the Northeast and beyond. And we should be devoting the infrastructure of the port to wind and solar development, not to dirty fossil fuel, the burning of which is polluting our air, speeding global warming and climate change, and is hastening the huge biodiversity extinction, which may include us. All this potential LPG is not even to be used by Rhode Islanders. It is to be trucked elsewhere for the benefit of other states. We would bear the risk of fire and plumes of exhaust to service the Northeast with a dirty fuel, just because we are small and poor. Compared to Massachusetts, we should not be the armpit of New England servicing the Northeast. May the port neighborhood of Providence never become Port Elizabeth, New Jersey, overrun and stinking with fossil fuel infrastructure. I'd also ask you to vote in favor of item number 7. Please vote in favor of demanding a full hearing and review by the Energy Facility Siting Board of the proposed huge C3 expansion, where in their written documents, they are proposing going from 23 million gallons per year to 100 million gallons. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And is it Doug Victor? Doug, also state your name and your address for the record, please. It might be off.
I used to be able to recognize buttons when I was younger, but now that I'm 73 and buttons have seemed to change, it's a little bit of a challenge. So thank you so much for advancing this this potential city ordinance. I think it's really, 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 really critical to protect the integrity of life in our city, and especially around the Port of Providence, and especially the South Side neighborhoods. I want to add a couple points. It's general knowledge that liquid propane, even though it's strictly regulated by OSHA and a handful of other agencies, propane is an explosive gas listed as a 2.1 hazard. It is poisonous. Containers may explode. There are propane may form an ignitable vapor and air mixture in closed tanks or containers. Flames, sparks, and static discharge may occur related to mismanagement, oxidizing materials, and decomposition. Propane poisoning results in pain, numbness, convulsions, diarrhea, and rapid loss of consciousness. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And can I have a motion to take item number 7 out of order, please? Motion made by Councilwoman Miller, seconded by President Pro Tem. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, will you please read item number 7 into the record?
Item number 7 is a resolution regarding C3 Providence LLC.
And Madam Clerk, is there any letters to go along with item number 7?
Mr. Chair, we entered those into the record along with item number 2. I will include those same CPC letter and letter of testimony with item number 7.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Hey, Doug, you can come on back up. Doug Victor. Doug, do you want to speak again on item number 7, or are you all set with the statement you just made? Okay, thank you, sir. Linda Perry, all set? Thank you. Then Susanna, I think she left, correct? Nina Wolf, Landau. State your name for the record and your address, please.
Hello, my name is Nina Wolf Landau. I live at 903 Providence Place in Providence, 02903. Thank you for having me today. I'm here to make comments in favor of the resolution regarding C3 Providence LLC. I strongly urge the City Council to listen to the voices of local residents and request that the Energy Facility Siting Board go through a full review process of the fossil fuel project as this resolution requests. As I'm sure you all know, the Washington Park and South Providence communities, majority BIPOC communities, continue to be heavily overburdened by pollution and environmental hazards. This attempt by the C3 LLC to avoid a full review with robust public engagement is yet another example of environmental racism. Frankly, we know that most people can't show up to a middle of the day hearing, can't show up at 4 p.m., and the lack of public engagement by avoiding a full review defeats the ability of residents to be able to engage in this process. Additionally, state law requires a full application and approval from the EFSB if the expansion is an alteration to the existing facility. By our own state laws, an alteration is a significant modification to a major energy facility, which as determined by the board will result in a significant impact on the environment or the public health, safety, and welfare. C3 is proposing the use of an additional lot, 6 new 90,000 gallon storage tanks, the dangers of which many people have just spoken to, and connecting to the rail line, all of which are major alterations. This new fossil fuel storage capacity and rail traffic, increased truck traffic, and all the associated noise and air pollution impacts, not to mention the risk of catastrophic accidents associated with more transportation of liquid propane gas, clearly demonstrate that this is a major alteration requiring a full review. I think it's also really important to note that the expansion and the use of additional fossil fuels in Rhode Island and the air pollution locally from fuel transportation are inconsistent with our city's commitment to climate justice and a clean, healthy, sustainable port. We know the port area is already overburdened with polluting industrial activities and truck traffic. By increasing air pollution and further investing in fossil fuels, this is taking us farther from our goals for a climate resilient future and is inconsistent with our state and city commitments to climate change adaptation and mitigation. And lastly, as others have noted, the public safety concerns make it another reason why the EFSB should complete a full review. And I think this resolution is a really important way for the municipality to support the residents in fighting this proposal. I also want to add, I walked in at 4:01 and didn't have a chance to sign up for agenda item 2, but I'm also in favor of the ordinance to prohibit the storage of liquefied propane gas. Thank you.
Thank you. Darren Pincus. Again, state your name and your address, please, for the record. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, Devin Pincus, 125 Parade Street, Providence, Rhode Island, 02909. I am here in support of agenda item 7. I urge this committee to support the resolution requesting that the Energy Facilities Siting Board deny C3 Providence's petition for a declaratory order due to its significant health, safety, and environmental impacts. As the previous speaker stated, this is in line with Providence's climate justice plan and commitment to protecting the health and well-being of our frontline communities in the neighborhoods of Washington Park and South Providence. I'll also add that this is just one of many attempts by fossil fuel and industrial corporations along the port to subvert public engagement with the process and to attempt to sneak through the back door what is in fact a major expansion, even though they are attempting to call it something else. As the previous speaker stated, this is an expansion of the LNG storage that will result in an additional lot being used, as well as significant additional truck traffic, air pollution, noise pollution in the neighborhood. and the public deserves the opportunity to engage with that process and speak out if they choose to do so. I'd also like to add that I'm not sure if I can do this, but I'd like to add my name in support of agenda item number 2 as well, if possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Marco Carrasco. Again, Marcos, when you come up, just state your name for the record, please, and your address.
Hello, my name is Marco David Carrasco. Sorry. My address is 41 Crawford Street in Cranston, and I'm making public comments in favor of the resolution regarding C3 Providence LLC. I'm currently, as I mentioned, a resident of Cranston, but as someone who lived in Providence until just a few years ago and who still has friends and family living here, including in the Allens Avenue and Washington Park neighborhoods, I strongly urge the City Council to listen to the voices of local residents and request that the Energy Facilities Siting Board go through a full review process and of the C3 fossil fuel project as this resolution requests. The Washington Park and South Providence communities, who are majority working class and POC communities, continue to be heavily overburdened by pollution and environmental hazards. The attempt to avoid a full review with robust public engagement is unacceptable given how much these communities have already suffered in terms of air pollution due to all the fossil fuel infrastructure that already exists there. It's also unacceptable due to the fact that we are in the middle of a climate crisis. So I urge the committee to support this resolution requesting that the EFSB deny C3 Providence LLC's petition for a declaratory order due to its significant health, safety, and environmental impacts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Andrew Poyant. And again, state your name and your address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Andrew Poyant. I live on 11 Trinidad Street. Here in support of both the resolution item 7 and the ordinance item 2. The LPG that C3 is proposing, they're trying to say that it's a small project and isn't going to have any impact, while at the same time they're going to increase the amount of LPG that comes through the site by 400%. The amount of a year. So it is a significant impact. By adding rail, they're going to be increasing it again by 400%. We have already seen a trail derailment in this area. We've already seen a gas tanker truck flip over and spill gas. We don't need any more explosive materials to be stored in this area. The South Side and Washington Park have some of the highest asthma rates in the country, which are in part due to the pollution from the port. The increase in truck traffic is going to worsen that. And in addition to that, this LPG in their own NC3's own application is not primarily for use within Providence. It's for the rest of Rhode Island. Providence does not use LPG. And so for us to be overburdening our residents when they already are overburdened with a lot of hazardous materials is not right. We should deny this. I support both. I also hope that we move forward with banning other hazardous materials, so that way we don't have to come before you the next time the next proposal happens. So thank you.
Thank you. Out of respect, is there anybody that showed up late that would like to speak on either item number 2 or item number 7? And if you could just speak on both items at the same time, that'd be perfect. Can you please state your name and your address for the record, please?
Lily Whelan, 30 Whitney Street, Providence, 02907. And I'm very, very against these trains going by my house with all these. I already deal with vibrations and Route 10, 95. And now the trains, please, 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 please. But review it for my children, my neighbors, my animals, everything, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are now, we are gonna move on to item number 3. Bobby Azar.
Item number 3 is an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 27 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Providence entitled, "The City of Providence Zoning Ordinance Approved November 24th, 2014 as amended to change the base zoning district of 22 Rye Street located on Assessor's Plat 108, Lot 166 from R3 to R4, and also to include said property in the Historic District Overlay District."
And we do have a letter from the CPC.
That is correct.
I'd like to make that item number, was it 3A?
3A.
So moved.
Motion made
Second.
by Councilwoman Miller, seconded by Pro Temp Espinal. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bobby?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This is a former school, a city school on Rye Street, and it's currently owned by the Providence Redevelopment Agency. And the agency is seeking to find a developer who can convert it to housing. It really is not laid out for a modern school building anymore, but it would serve as a good location for housing, particularly affordable housing. So the R4 designation would allow for more than 3 units to be built within this building. Right now, because it's R3, the maximum number you could have in the building is 3. So the R4 would give it that flexibility. Also, since this is a older building, it is a historic building, we recommend that it be also included in the historic district. And this would potentially provide some funding sources to a developer to do a historic rehabilitation of the building. So the commission considered this at its let's see, can't tell you, I think it was back in February actually of 2021 that the commission considered this and they made a recommendation that you rezone this property from R3 to R4, that you include it under the historic overlay district. They added a condition that a portion of the lot be dedicated for use as public space. That's not so much, I think, for the council to consider, but a message to the Providence Redevelopment Agency that they include that as a condition when they look to find a developer for this property.
God knows we need the housing. Thank you, Bobby. Just so that everybody knows there was nobody to sign up to speak either for or against that particular item.
Chair? Can I speak?
No. Well, you gotta sign up.
Let me put my name on it.
Come on. I think Councilman Vargas? No, just state your name and your address for the record, Councilman.
It's on? Okay.
There
My
you
name is
go.
Oscar Vargas. I am councilman from Ward 15. I got a question for you, sir. Do you send notices to all the neighborhoods around that property? You can talk to from there. You press the microphone and,
Councilman,
sorry.
We would have to save that for the committee meeting.
Okay, all right, let's forward.
If you have a
I'm
comment, you'd like to make about the project, that's fine.
Sure, all right. I got some neighbors, some constituents on Ralph Street, because this property borrows is borders like a frontier from my other street on my neighborhood. They're not happy. And they're
What
not
I
happy.
would, what I would ask,
sorry?
Councilman, what I would ask is that you get a hold of Bobby Azar
I'm
and
sorry,
speak to him before the ordinance meeting,
okay?
okay?
All right. So I have a concern. Is having been no information going around the neighborhood what this property is. I would like to know more about it and what changes coming out to the neighborhood because lately they've been doing some changes, a lot of changes in the neighborhood without telling the taxpayers. That's my concern. Thank you.
Bobby, make sure you reach out to the councilman ASAP and give him whatever information he needs before the ordinance meeting. Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Item number 4, Madam Clerk.
Item number 4 is an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 27 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Providence entitled The City of Providence Zoning Ordinance approved November 24th, 2014 as amended to include 50 Sims Avenue located on Assessor's Plat 27, Lot 293 in the Historic District Overlay District.
Bobby Azar.
Mr. Chair, there is a
And
CPC
just
letter.
yep, I was just going to mention that. There is a CPC letter that we would like to make Exhibit 4A, motion to make Exhibit 4A by Councilwoman Miller, seconded by Pres Pro Temp Espinal. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. All yours, Bobby.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This is another piece of property that's owned by the Providence Redevelopment Agency. This is at 50 Sims. This is an industrial complex. Currently, there are some tenants in this building that are using it for a restaurant. And there is the opportunity for more tenants throughout the complex. The redevelopment agency is seeking to also to locate this building within the historic district, this one within the industrial and commercial buildings district. Again, this would ensure that the buildings are preserved, and should they pass into private hands, that they be preserved. And again, could also make them eligible for certain subsidies to rehabilitate the building. So the City Plan Commission in February voted to recommend that the City Council approve the proposed zoning change.
Thank you, Bob. Bob, you might as well stay right there. Again, there was nobody that signed up to speak either for or against this project.
I am.
Okay?
You want me to go there or here?
No, come
Thank
on
you.
up here, Bobby. Just again, state your name for the record, Councilman.
Sure. My name is Oscar Vargas, Councilman for Ward 15. Another property, this property is in my district. I've been in office more than 100 days. Nobody haven't called me saying, Councilman, we have this property, we like to do something with this property. So imagine that they didn't send me no letter and I'm official, a councilman person. How come you didn't send no letters to nobody? So please, let's take a look again, see what we can do with
All right,
this.
then my advice is going to be, Bobby, before any of the last 2 projects move forward whatsoever, meet with the councilman. And moving forward, I don't expect to hear that from any of my colleagues that they're not, they're not being reached out to. They are our wards. The people come to us when there's the complaints, not to the PRA. So get together with Councilman Vargas. And before the next meeting, Councilman Vargas, if you're not happy with what you heard, let me know before we set up the next meeting.
Sure,
Thank
I'll
you.
be glad to meet with them
Yes.
and go forward.
Definitely.
I love to bring business into the neighborhood.
Right.
I love it. I got 7 businesses online already. But it's something that's going on that's going through the waters. Please let me. Thank you.
No, you got it. Okay. So Bobby, item number 5. Madam Clerk, would you please read item number 5 in the record?
Item number 5 is a petition from Robert I. Stolzman Esquire, Adler, Pollock, and Sheehan, PC, 1 Citizen Plaza, 8th floor, Providence, Rhode Island, 02903,
In-
requesting a zone change amendment, Article 6, Downtown District, Section 604G, off-street parking, prohibits parking lots in the D1 district without approval of the Downtown Design Review Committee. This amendment would toll the expiration of variances for surface parking lots until 12/21/24.
And there is a letter from the CPC.
Correct.
Can I get I'd like to make a motion to make that exhibit 5A, please. Motion made by Councilwoman Miller, seconded by President Pro Tem Esposito. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Bobby?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an ordinance that applies to a handful of pieces of property in downtown. These properties have received zoning variances to allow for principal use parking lots. That means that the sole use of the property is for surface parking. That's a use that's not allowed currently in downtown. And these particular properties, when the variances were granted, they were granted with a time period that has an expiration date. This petition, this comes from 3 different petitioners. It did not originate from the city. But what this petition seeks to do is to extend the validity of these variances for a couple of more years, given the effects of the pandemic. And if this were to be passed, the variances would expire on December 31st, 2024. This would specifically affect lots at 179 to 197 Waybosset Street, 209 Fountain Street, and 96 to 108 Pine Street. The City Plan Commission considered this at its meeting in September, and they recommended that the council approve the proposed amendment.
Thank you, Bob. Is it Christy DiBiase? Please state your name and your address for the record.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members, council members. My name is Christine DiBiase. I'm with the
Excuse me, would you mind dropping your mask while you speak? Thank you.
Christine DiBiase. I'm with the law firm Adler, Pollock, and Sheehan, address 1 Citizens Plaza, 8th floor in Providence. I'm here on behalf of Rob Stolzman, who unfortunately had a conflict this evening due to the continuance. So I'm here representing 96-108 Pine Street LLC. I'm actually going to yield my time to attorney John Mancini, who's also an attorney for one of the petitioners for this, but I am available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, John, just your name and
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. John Mancini, I'm an attorney in Providence, Rhode Island, and I am here representing the applicant, one of the 3 individuals who petitioned this particular ordinance of the city and specifically the city council. I represent REI 14, which is the owner of 209 Fountain Street, and I, along with Mr. Stolzman, as indicated by Christine, have been working with respect to this ordinance. And as you heard from Bob Azar, the specific purpose is to address certain parcels, specifically in downtown, which are operating currently based on a use variance granted by the zoning board. Those variances are deemed to be expiring or have expired. And what we're asking of the city is to essentially freeze the expiration of those variances to allow the property owners to continue to foster the development of those empty lots and to find a better or more optimal use of it aside from parking. And the reason for it is, as the board is very much aware, the pandemic over the last 18 months has significantly hampered the ability to develop these lots for office building. And I can speak specifically with regards to 209 Fountain Street. 209 Fountain Street is the parcel, as we all know in Rhode Island, we refer to things as to where they were and what they were. That's the parcel where the old police station once was housed. That is part of a development agreement with the PRA. The current owner of that parcel has agreed with the PRA to look for and to foster a development for office space. And right now, to do office has been very difficult. And we are in a position of kind of a frozen time with regards to trying to find the ability to do the necessary office component in development on that parcel. For that reason, we're asking for this ordinance to be told. Now, the alternative is for us to reappear before the zoning board. And unfortunately, to the zoning board, as this council may be aware of, the zoning board has very strict criteria in issuing a use variance. Essentially, us, the applicant for the use variance, would have to show the board that there's no other beneficial use for that parcel, and therefore we need the use variance to change it permanently from parking to permanently from office to parking. And that's not the agenda here. The agenda is to utilize this temporarily while we manifest a ability to develop that parcel for office. And that's the goal. So we're looking for additional time. And in fact, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, when we initiated this ordinance, our thought process was that perhaps 4 years would be enough time. We thought that things would be in a much better position and happen faster. And we're not there as soon as we thought we would be there. And so we're actually even considering that there may be a potential to even get more time on this. We're asking for 4 years, and we may seek the mercy of the council to seek additional time. But regardless, any time is good time. It allows us to move forward, and it allows us to effectuate the development on those parcels. The ordinance would have no other impact on zoning. The ordinance would have no impact with regards to existing regulations. We would still be required to follow and comport with all cities' regulations and ordinances, other than the existence of the ordinance would remain in place until December 31st, 2014. And we're available for any questions or comments the board would have.
Well, that would be done at the ordinance meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, John. Madam Chair, Madam Clerk, at this time, before we go to item number 6, can we go at ease for like 2 minutes?
We are at ease. I certainly don't want it. Regular?
Come right back or? Wait. We're waiting for her. I'm gonna do my shot. Okay. Hey, Madam Clerk, first I'd like to recognize that Councilwoman Carmen Castillo is here.
So noted.
And could we please read item number 6 into the record?
Item number 6 is an ordinance amending Chapter 16 Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions, Article 3, Noise Control of the Providence Code of Ordinances to add Section 16-100 leaf blowers.
Madam Clerk, I understand we have a overabundance of letters.
Yes,
So we're
Mr.
going
Chair.
to just make that one exhibit instead of taking up the time to mark each letter differently.
Correct. So
Okay.
it's a packet of multiple letters of testimony along with a letter that was just handed to me as well that we will include as 6A.
So with that being said, can I have a motion to accept the packet as 6A, Exhibit 6A? Motion made by Councilwoman Miller, seconded by President Pro Temp Espinal. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, could you please read number 6? You already read into it. All right. Again, we're just going to ask that everybody kind of keep your comments to like around 2 minutes. If you hear somebody else already made the same kind of comment you were going, if you can make it even briefer, that'd be great. So let's start. And I'm going to apologize if I butcher anybody's name ahead of time. Zach Medicue? Not bad. If you would please state your name and your address for the record, please. Yeah, push it up.
Is that okay? Yeah.
Perfect.
My name is Zach Metker and I live at 125 Governor Street in Providence, 02906. And I am here to speak in support of both the proposed amendments to Chapter 16 that would place some restrictions on the use of gas-powered leaf blowers in Providence neighborhoods. I live My neighborhood consists mostly of individual houses on small lots. And I think soul-destroying sound of two-stroke gas-powered leaf blowers is a constant. Most mornings, I'm awakened not by birdsong, but by the high-pitched screaming of a leaf blower or two. The oral assault starts as early as 7 a.m. and continues throughout the day, often past dark. Their operators are relentless, undeterred by rain or wind or even snow. There's no way to escape the sound of leaf blowers in this city. Closing windows doesn't shut it out. Wearing noise-canceling headphones doesn't entirely mask it. Taking a walk offers no respite. Even once I walk beyond the range of blowers in my immediate vicinity, I invariably enter another leaf blower zone and another and another. They are ubiquitous. The sound of gas-powered leaf blowers is unquestionably damaging to human hearing. As manufacturers themselves admit, the average sound produced by these machines measures 70 to 75 decibels at 50 feet. This is well beyond the general daytime outdoor noise levels of 55 decibels or less recommended by the World Health Association. Writing in Audubon magazine this spring, Monica Cardoza noted, quote, some gas-powered leaf blowers produce more than 100 decibels of low-frequency wall-penetrating sound, or as much noise as a plane taking off, at levels that can cause, I'm not sure I pronounced this right, tinnitus, is that right? And hearing loss with long exposure. Despite this damage, leaf blowers are routinely used less than 50 feet from non-consenting pedestrians and neighboring homes that may be occupied by homeworkers, retirees, day sleepers, children, the ill or disabled, and pets, and people like me. The incessant whine of leaf blowers has reduced my quality of life. In some ways, it's been disabling. I'm retired, but do a lot of riding, or would, if not for the many times each day when the sound of nearby leaf blowers obliterates my ability to concentrate. My temper is frayed, my anxiety level elevated, my ability to get to sleep and stay asleep interfered with. I even hear the things in my dreams. So I applaud both these amendments you guys have proposed, but I'd like to see the city go further and ban gas-powered leaf blowers altogether. It can be done here. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry about that, Councilman Gonzalez. Would you like to speak now, or do you want to wait?
To speak on this matter?
You
Sure,
want-
I'm happy to. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Can you come up to the podium, please?
Sure.
State your name for the record.
It's on. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Really appreciate it. And I want to thank the members of the public who are going to speak on this matter tonight. I appreciate you listening to this important matter, and I'm proud to work with my fellow colleagues to introduce this leaf blower ordinance, which is aimed at reducing the time that leaf blowers can be used in the city. So first, this amendment does several things. It removes leaf blowers from the broader category of noise-making equipment and puts it into the section of the city's municipal code so leaf blower equipment can be regulated accordingly. Secondly, it reduces the time that leaf blowers can be used in the city. Chairman Nardici, I want to preface the fact that we know how important lawn care is, especially to the constituents of our district. We value clean lawns, mowed lawns, and lawn etiquette. We want our neighborhoods and all of our neighborhoods throughout the city to look kept up, groomed, and well-maintained. This ordinance doesn't change that. It just simply reduces the time that leaf blowers can be used because in neighborhoods across the city, no one wants to be awakened by a leaf blower. By slightly changing the usage time so folks can't use them as often, we can prevent leaf blowers, which in many cases are already undermining quality of life and already operating well above the current noise ordinances, to be further regulated. Put simply, leaf blowers at 7 a.m. are a nuisance. And when we were drafting this legislation in consultation with the policy staff, we made sure to do our due diligence by calling around and seeing what time landscaping companies operate and slightly changing the times as to not kill or negatively impact their businesses. In addition, we could have gone a lot further with this piece of legislation. In DC, in fact, they completely banned gas-powered leaf blowers, and for good reason. A regular two-stroke leaf blower, in fact, creates noise up to 112 decibels. Gas-powered leaf blowers penetrate walls and windows hundreds of yards from where they're being used. And it's actually beyond a nuisance issue. This ambient urban noise is resulting in hearing damage, hearing loss, high blood pressure. You just heard a constituent mention that it elevates anxiety levels, depression, PTSD. And although it seems a natural occurrence in our city, it's actually not normal. 100 US cities across the country have restricted the use of leaf blowers. In DC, they nearly unanimously supported phasing out gas-powered leaf blowers for the reasons stated. And a study showed that using a leaf blower for an hour emits as much smog forming pollution as a Toyota Camry does when it drives 1,100 miles. By 2020, in fact, gas-powered leaf blowers and similar equipment in the state of California could produce more ozone pollution than all of the millions of cars in California combined. And while we're not California, we're not immune to this kind of public health and environmental hazard. Lastly, if you look at other ordinances across the country, they have more rigid restrictions, bans, or rigid times, and they impose civil penalties of up to $1,000 per violation. So we took a very reasonable approach here. There isn't a vote on the rise, but we do ask that you support this legislation and these amendments so we can get it back on the floor to the entire city council when we do take that vote to ultimately protect the quality of life of our residents. So this piece of legislation is just a start and will have a positive impact on our neighborhoods. And I very much appreciate this committee's review of this ordinance, as well as the proposed amendments tonight. Thank you very much.
Can everybody hear me? Yeah, I know, okay. Amy Remanzada? Can you state your name and your address for the record, please, Amy?
This on? Yes. My name is Amy Remensnyder. I live at 18 Everett Ave in Providence, 02906. And I want to speak in support of this amendment. And in fact, I want to go further and urge the city to eventually ban gas-powered leaf blowers altogether. And that is because, as you've already begun to hear, as a community, we pay a very high environmental price for gas-powered leaf blowers. And I just want to speak to 4 aspects of this. First is the noise pollution that we've already heard a little bit about, but I want to point out that the noise from gas-powered leaf blowers exceeds all the levels which are deemed safe, not only by the CDC, by OSHA, by the WHO, and by NEOSH, for both the workers who are using them and for the public who are hearing them. The noisiest of these can impact up to 91 homes when they are being used. And it's especially deafening when multiple leaf blowers are used on one property or on one block, as very often happens. And this noise pollution, as we've heard, has consequences, really severe health consequences, not just hearing loss, but all kinds of health problems, such as coronary artery disease, high blood pressure, impaired child development, impaired immune systems. Then there's also the air pollution, which is emitted from leaf blowers' exhausts. Since most of them are two-stroke engines, they don't have emissions control. And so therefore, they emit way more than their fair share of volatile organic compounds, which are deemed by the EPA to be hazardous air pollutants. They're actually classified as that, and therefore they're considered to be cancer-causing and also smog-producing. Numerous studies have proved just how inefficient leaf blowers are at using fuel. Just to add to what the councilman just said, in 1 hour, one gas leaf blower uses up the same amount or emits the same amount of hydrocarbon pollution as driving an F-150 pickup from Connecticut to Texas. Third, there's the pollution that's caused by all the stuff that leaf blowers kick up into the air. That is the fine particulate matter. And this fine particulate matter is especially easily absorbed by the lungs of both humans and of animals. The clouds of this fine particulate matter that are created by gas leaf blowers contain stuff like animal feces, fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, pollen, diesel soot, brake dust, rubber tire particles, and heavy metals. 1 hour of gas-powered leaf blower use can put up to 5 pounds of this toxic mixture into the air, where it can linger for up to 5 to 7 days while humans and animals are breathing it. Then finally, I want to point to the general environmental degradation that is caused by gas-powered leaf blowers. They have really high velocity air jets that blow air out at between 150 to 280 miles per hour, which is way above hurricane strength winds. These artificially generated winds can destroy bird nests, they can destroy small animal habitats, they can dry up pollen, sap, and the other liquids that our trees and that our plants need to survive. They can injure or kill birds and small mammals and destroy pollinators, which we desperately need. They also blow away the topsoil, and therefore they increase the use of fertilizers, which of course then run off into storm drains and increase our water pollution. So this is the environmental price that Providence citizens collectively pay for the use of gas-powered leaf blowers. And I think it's too high. As we've just heard, hundreds of cities and towns across the United States have enacted severe limitations or even bans on gas-powered leaf blowers. And they've done this without harming the livelihoods of yard maintenance companies and without impairing people's abilities to keep their properties neat. So I think Providence should definitely enact this amendment, but it should go further and it should ban gas-powered leaf blowers. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Brad Mason or my son? Just state your name and your address, please.
Brad Marston, 18 Glen Drive. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, so I agree with the points that were raised in the by the previous speakers, but I want to add a few other points. At my house, I have measured a sound level of 85 decibels at my front door from leaf blowers across the street. 85 decibels can cause hearing loss after an hour or so of exposure. And this is a common occurrence in my neighborhood. The sound and the pollution from the leaf blowers are bad for the workers who use them, and many of those workers don't use ear protection. The continued use of these leaf blowers are harming both the workers and the neighborhood. This entire state of California has banned gas-powered leaf blowers and gas-powered lawnmowers recently. The entire state, all the cities in the state, it's a state law, And it began by at the city level, about 100 cities passed various bans. The reason this is possible is that there is a good alternative, which is electric powered leaf blowers. And these are permitted in California and also in Washington, DC. The transition to electric powered leaf blowers is inevitable because we have to electrify everything. We've already heard at this hearing about fossil fuels causing other problems. We're moving in the direction of electrification. It's going to happen. Let's let Providence take the lead in moving us along in that path. So I stand in strong support of the proposed ordinance, and I'd like to see it strengthened greatly to ban these gas-powered leaf blowers outright. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark DeSisto. State your name and your address for the record, please, Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark DeSisto, coming from 450 Veterans Memorial Parkway in East Providence. I'm here on behalf of the Rhode Island Nurserymen and Landscaping Association, and we are opposed to item number 6 on the agenda tonight. After speaking with members of the association today, we have a few points that we'd like to bring up. By reducing the hours that they could use this equipment, they would lose 20 to 24 hours of working time a week. That's roughly a third of the day that you would take away from them. And based on that, 2 days a week that they wouldn't be able to work. Now, if you add in inclement weather to that as well, you're taking time away from these hardworking people. As an ordinance that already stands within Providence, powered leaf blowers are required to remove leaves and fertilizer, other debris from sidewalks. So with that, it would also inhibit them from doing their job based on those sidewalk removal. We also believe that even with this in place, that there should be an exception for emergency situations, such as when the nor'easter hit. For disaster situations, we think that there should be a little more relaxed on these timeline bans. Also, with concern to our actual workers who are the landscapers that are working on this, there are less injuries when they are using the power equipment versus manual labor to get some of this work done. I know someone who was just giving testimony did have concern about their own hearing. Most workers are given the ear protection that is available to them. Also, the landscapers make their money with the efficiency of the jobs in which they are done. By taking away this equipment from them at this time, I know that we have spoke a little bit about electric powered leaf blowers, but there's more efficiency for them at this time with the gas powered leaf blowers, and they make their money this way. So if they aren't able to work that 20 to 24 hours with the week, and they're not able to use the best equipment possible for them, it would be devastating to their work week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Tom Bennett. State your name and address for the record, Tom.
Hello, my name is Tom Bennett. My address is 118 Rosedale Street in Providence, Rhode Island. And I want to thank you for taking the time to hear my input today. I am the owner of City and Estate Gardener. City and Estate Gardener is a landscape maintenance company that offers complete landscape maintenance to the Providence area with a focus on the east side of Providence. We provide services for approximately 200 residents. I'm also a taxpaying resident of Providence's West End. I employ 8 residents of Providence. The proposed blower restrictions will adversely affect my business by increasing the cost to the client, by increasing the physical toll upon our workers, and by reducing the amount of revenue the business can produce because it will reduce our productive work hours by about 20% each day. The east side is a beautiful place. The beautiful homes and beautiful landscapes enhance the quality of life of all the people that live and visit here, which is why we service this area. I have a degree in horticulture from URI. My company just doesn't cut your grass and blow your leaves. We garden your landscape using scientific techniques that deliver guaranteed results all season long. So where has the idea to regulate the leaf blowers come from? Complaints, I assume. What is the number of people complaining, I question? The population of Providence is 28,000 people. 1% of the population is 280 people. Has there been 280 different people making complaints, or is there a small group of very vocal activists making many complaints? Do the people opposed to leaf blowers know how physically hard landscaping is when it is done as a profession? Do the people opposed to leaf blowers know how much of a labor-saving tool it is? Not having this tool will affect my ability to staff my teams. Labor is a very difficult thing, and this will make it worse. It's like working backwards. There's an effective tool to do heavy labor, and we're not going to use it. How many of you would like to do a job with the wrong tool? The initial reason for attacking leaf blowers always was and still is the noise, which is therefore very irritating. The concept of citing health hazards and environmental impacts enhanced the argument presented by the anti-leaf blower crowd. The blower emissions are regulated by the EPA. If they are so bad, you would think that this would be addressed here. The particulate matter or dust they kick up when in use is the size that falls to the ground as the air settles. The so-called facts the activists use are all designed to sway the common person that does not do this type of work. I've worked the east side of Providence for about 25 years, and I've encountered a very small percentage of people unhappy with our services. These people that are usually the people that have very poor looking landscapes. Last week, out of a possible 6 work days, we lost 4 days to rain. The threat of snow begins about November 15th. Fall cleanup starts on November 1st and ends, because of the weather, about December 15th, which is a very short period of time to accomplish a lot of work. The clocks are changing this weekend, and it will start getting dark about 4 p.m. My company strives not to work on the weekends, to be respectful of the community and to give our workers quality of life. My workers don't want to work later in the day because of a later start time. Our teams are trained to be courteous to people and to pets. Our teams use eye protection and hearing protection. My business strives to be the best we can be using the best tools and techniques. We want a happy clientele and a happy and beautiful community. We have invested over $15,000 over the past 3 years on battery-operated equipment that does not produce emissions and has a lower operating noise. We have battery-operated blowers, mowers, hedge trimmers, string trimmers, and chainsaws. These tools are great, and we use them most of the season, but they are not effective to do heavy labor and long duration work that occurs with cleanups, whether they're in the fall, in the spring, or in the summer. Give time for the technology to develop. The professional will accept battery-operated equipment as a replacement on its own merit. In spite of what you may have heard, the available battery power today is not sufficient for the professional application, resulting in loss of time, increased costs, and the potential loss of business or profit. A few more things to think about. How will these regulations be enforced? What are the parameters for measurement of the sound? Do the police need more of a distraction, taking them away from investigating crime to pursuing people that are working and beautifying neighborhoods? Is there money in the budget for more enforcement action? How will this affect the homeowner or someone not capable of manual means of labor? Do you think my clientele or other discerning residents are going to expect a lower level of service and a decrease in the appearance of Providence, especially the east side? If so, why not let the free market decide the fate of the blowers instead of the government? I want to thank you for listening to what I have said, and I hope you will be considerate of this input before any regulations are enacted. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Michael Montella. Just state your name and your address for the record, please.
Afternoon. Thank you very much. My name is Michael Montella. I live at 33 Hillcrest Avenue in Greenville, Rhode Island. I'm opposed to this ordinance change for all of the reasons that were just stated. I don't want to repeat them. The only other thing that I want to add is we're talking about the environmental issues. The battery powered equipment that some people want us to buy, which is extremely expensive, like was stated before. When those batteries are no good anymore, that is like nuclear waste. There is nowhere to do those. So we would be running into more environmental issues down the road. We don't know at this point how long those batteries for that equipment lasts. So we don't know when that environmental issue is going to come about. Other than that, everything that was just stated from this gentleman from City Estate is right on track, and we're opposed to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ethan Atoy. State your name and your address, please, Ethan.
Hi, my name is Ethan Hattoy. I live at 223 Black Rock Road in Coventry. I work for my family's business, Hattoy's Nursery and Garden Center, and I run the landscaping department. I'm also the secretary of the Rhode Island Nursery and Landscape Association. I'm a certified horticulturist, a licensed arborist, and I'm a beekeeper. I care about the environment and I want to do what's environmentally sound for now and for the future. And I'm not opposed to battery powered equipment. Right now, the technology is not there. We have hundreds of customers, and I want to use my time to tell two brief stories. One of them is a residential account in Providence, and one is a commercial one. The residential story is my friend who lives on the east side. He's got about 1/8 of an acre lot. He only has a 200 square foot front lawn. A lot of the proponents say we should leave the leaves on the lawn and mulch them. Most of his property is driveway, patio, areas that are not lawn. There's not a lot of places to keep the leaves, so the leaves have to be removed. When he first moved in, he wanted to take on his first homeowner cleanup. He was proud. He bought a battery-powered blower, and he did his cleanup. After 2 weekends and about 30 hours of work and 100 leaf bags that were wet near the sidewalk, he told me, "Ethan, never again. I'm calling you and your guys to come up here to do it." Next year, we did that leaf cleanup in the fall. It took us about 2.5 hours with 4 guys. We did use battery gas-powered equipment. Had we have used his battery handheld equipment where we would have had to swap batteries out every 30 or 40 minutes, it's just not practical. I don't know about all the decibels and all of the technical terminology and the environmental impacts and all that. I'm just speaking from a practical standpoint. There would be no way for us to efficiently do that cleanup the way my friend did. Granted, he did it by his own, but even if we had 4 guys using electric equipment, that might have been what would have been a $200 or a $300 cleanup to now being a $900 or $1,000 cleanup. So if people are okay with those price increases, then we'll switch the battery and we'll break the rakes out and do it the old school way. But unfortunately, this equipment makes us become a lot more efficient. And with extremely high demand and a tight labor market, we need all the help we can get to get done as much as we can as quick as possible. And once the technology is there, I am all for it. If Tesla or Echo or whoever wants to make a great powered backpack electric blower, I'll be the first one to buy it. But right now, it's just not there yet. The other story I have is for the KFC on North Main Street in Providence. We service that account, and the owner wants us out of that account by 10 a.m. because his drive-through opens and that line is on the road. If we can't get that account done in that time frame before then, we would have to lose that account. I don't make my guys come in on a Sunday, and we don't like to use Saturdays unless we have to for a rain day during the week. So for that account alone, we can be in and out of there within an hour, hour and a half with our high-powered gas backpack blowers. We wouldn't be able to get a dust broom and a pan out there and start sweeping and raking. We'd have to use a blower, and the electric blowers just aren't there yet. So those are my 2 stories. I do oppose this for now. I wouldn't be opposed for it maybe some years down the road, but for right now, we need the gas-powered blowers to do our job effectively, keep the costs down, and to give our labor force the hours they need to get the jobs done for all of our customers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Doug Victor. Just state your name, please, Doug.
I found the button. My name is Doug Victor. I live at 103 Princeton Avenue. I just want to say I'm 73 years old. When I moved to Princeton Avenue 36 years ago, there were only 3 trees on the street. And now we have a tree-lined street because we've planted street trees every year since the Elizabeth Sharp endowment came into being. I use a rake. I rake. Pretty recently, we have had one neighbor who brought in a company using these leaf blowers, and it has just, the decibel level of these things is too loud. It's just really changed the quality of our block when that happens on Princeton Avenue. So, you know, we all know too well, and people have spoken about the impact of leaf blowers on neighborhood life. So I'm in support of the ordinance. I think it's a great ordinance. It's a good start. Yes, I agree with the fact that technology isn't quite there with the batteries and all of that business, but you know what? We have to start somewhere because it's all tied into climate change, and it's all tied into how we can make our residential neighborhoods more livable for everybody. So I'd like to just add a couple points. We know that people have spoken to the well-documented point that leaf blowers cause permanent hearing damage. According to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, exhaust from gas-powered leaf blowers contain hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxides, and they are components of smog, plus carbon monoxide and particulate matter, which has been spoken to before, all of which is known to harm people's health. Gas leaf blowers create high levels of formaldehyde, benzene, fine particulate matter, and other smog-forming chemicals, which are known to cause dizziness, headaches, asthma, heart and lung disease, cancer, and dementia. Please limit leaf blowing use in our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug. Linda Perry.
Hello, okay. Linda Perry, Washington Park Association. Although I do appreciate the landscaper's point of view, I have family that's landscaping, and it is a problem, the noise level and the pollution. And the woman that described what is blown up into the air was horrifying. You know, the elements that go into the air that are on the ground, that are happily on the ground, that should stay there, that we breathe in for days, is an issue. And I've never seen a landscaper blow the leaves, clean up the lawn and the dirt, and then pick it up. It just, they blow it into the street and they think it's going to be fine, and it goes down the storm drain. So there are consequences to that, as well as the environmental consequences, not just what you see, what you breathe, it's what goes into the storm drain as well. Everybody wants a clean lawn, but it is the responsibility of this body and for the government to protect people from themselves sometimes. And the noise and the fumes that travel are a serious issue. So I don't want to expand on what has been said because the experts have said it all, but in very briefly, I agree with the ordinance and that it should be looked into, if not now, but segue into electric as the technology changes and give the people the ability to breathe better. Different communities have different criteria and different issues. I understand that, but we have to start somewhere. And I believe this is the time and place to start.
Thank you, Linda. Jacqueline Satlow. Are you knitting me a blanket? Is that blanket for me? Are you crocheting?
Long time before it's finished, sorry. Yes, Jacqueline Satlow from 113 Woodbury Street, Providence. I wanted to start with a point of clarification. As I read this ordinance, as far as I can tell, it allows the new amendment allows the leaf blowers to be more noisy than the current statute. Is that correct? As I read it, it erodes the current statute. It allows a higher decibel of noise from leaf blowers.
I'm going to ask that the sponsor, Councilman Gonzalez, can you answer that question?
Sure, thank you for that.
Please stand.
Sure.
Thank you, Councilman.
So it seemed like there was a clerical error. It is 65.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I'll take off my mask. It is 65 decibels. So it was a typo.
What is the current standard?
65.
And what does the amendment say?
It says 70. I have to look at it in front of me, but it says 70 and 65, I believe, in parentheses, but it should be 65 as opposed to 70.
I'm sorry, I feel like you're talking in circles around me. I am concerned that there's something.
Hang on one second. Madam Clerk,
Yes, Mr. Chair.
can you find what we're looking for?
Yes, in section 16-100, section A, line 2, it says that has an average sound level exceeding 70, but in parentheses, it's 65.
So that should be amended, so it says 65.
Correct.
To be consistent with what is in the parentheses.
Okay, so just to be really clear,
Okay.
the current standard is how many decibels?
I have no answer for that.
No, I mean, we could, Madam Clerk, could you read the current standard, please?
I don't think we have that in there, do we?
Well, section 1697 says it shall be unlawful for any person to operate any machinery, equipment, pump, fan, air conditioning apparatus, or similar mechanical device in any residential zone of the city so as to exceed 55 dBA between the hours of 8 p.m. and 7
Okay,
a.m.
hold on 1 second. So the current standard is 55.
But there's a little bit more to that. Or so as to exceed 65 dBA between the hours of 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. So 55 between 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. and 65 between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m.
So the current standard is 65 during the day. And the amendment is for, tell me again?
65.
65. Okay, so it does not.
So it does not change that. It just limits the time in which leaf blowers could be used.
Okay, because I was extremely concerned about that, at least how I read it. Apparently there was a typo.
Does
but-
that clarify?
Okay, so as I read it, it was eroding, it was allowing more noise, but that was a typo. So now I would like to, I'm glad that that's clarified, and I would say that I would like to agree with my neighbors around the room that I would favor banning gasoline-powered leaf blowers completely. This is a problem that has been growing over the past. I've owned my home for 20 years. And when we moved there, it was a quiet neighborhood. I live on the east side of Providence, and I hear some of the lawn service companies. It gets worse and worse every year. They get louder, and it's not just a few hours. It is absolutely constant. It is constant because the neighbors on the left and the neighbors on the right and the neighbors behind me and the neighbors in front of me. There is not a single day that I am away from the noise of the leaf blowers. It takes away significantly from my own property, enjoyment of my own personal property is one, but it's also a significant issue. It is getting in the way of my ability to work. All through COVID, when I had to do all my work out of my house, I could not work. The leaf blowers take away from my ability to teach and to write, which are the two things that I do to earn a living. So the and it is they are intruding on my ability not only to enjoy my property but to do my own work. As I and then the third thing is the environmental issues, which several people have said that the amount of greenhouse gases released by the gas-powered leaf blowers is tremendous. It's making our world more and more dangerous. The as well as the blowing everything else, all the garbage into the air. So I think that the electric battery powered, it doesn't bother me. I would rather have them there for more hours and have it be quiet. They're coming and going. They are destroying my neighborhood. The last thing is, I don't know what was wrong with the old-fashioned solution of using a rake. I think that's what it was 20 years ago when I when I moved into my neighborhood, people raked, okay? We don't use a lawn service because of this, all right? We rake. And my husband mows with a battery-powered lawnmower. The more and more the equipment is getting larger and really is there destroying my neighborhood. I think the raking worked perfectly fine, and I think that the battery powered machinery works well. In addition, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. This was my third try. I came 3 times because last week I came and I came the first time that it was supposed to be up. So I appreciate having the ability to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Okay, Lily Mullane. Lily? No? Lily going once? Lily going twice? Okay, Lily. One of my favorite people, Councilman Vargas. Councilman.
My name is Oscar Vargas. It's a great ordinance. It's very great, but we're not ready yet. If we go with this ordinance, we're going to put out of business a bunch of small businesses, and we crying to get money into the city. We trying to create more businesses. Only in my neighborhood, my ward, I have more than 200 people who has a small business like this one. Great thing about raking, you're right, but how are you going to get rake 3 acres? I barely make my sidewalk, I'm tired. Imagine that these people working under the sun. Summertime is very hot in this area. And I'm not in favor to change the time neither, because it's not fair for the poor people who goes out and work and start at 9 o'clock and they already lost 2 hours of the fresh morning. By noontime, you don't want to be there. You want to be on the beach, Narragansett, watching the waves come and go. But these business property, they don't have the chance to go and do that because they doing the people's lawn, making the property beautiful to create more value, take a nice picture in the backyard. The birds come around and fly over the yard is very clean. They go, wow, this property, he maintains the property. That's a great thing. So that's why I'm not in favor to change nothing in this ordinance. I will leave it the way it is to have the people and the business owner to create more businesses and go around and work very hard in the neighborhood and make people happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. If we can hang on for 1 second, please. Okay, that concludes the public hearing on ordinance. We agreed not to have a meeting upon the rise because we did not realize I didn't know what time we were getting done. So we will be setting up a meeting within the next 7 to 10 days on all the matters that were discussed here tonight. I do want to thank everybody for coming down. I know it's not the easiest place to come to for parking and everything, so thank you very much for attending the public hearing. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys. A notice will be sent out, a public notice will be sent out of the ordinance committee meeting. Thank you once again. With that being said, can I get a motion to adjourn? Motion made by President Pro Tem Espinal, seconded by Councilwoman Miller. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Good night, everybody.